Should I repeat? Hello, everyone. This webinar will be recorded and a video will be posted later on our YouTube channel. I am delighted tonight to welcome Nihad Sirees, acclaimed novelist, playwright, and screenwriter from Aleppo, Syria. Nihad is a special friend to our website and has been a great supporter since we launched 23 years ago. I'm grateful that he introduced me. I lost my paper. Okay, I'm grateful that he introduced me to another great Syrian writer, the late Nihad. Their cooperation and support during the first years of Arab World Books is very much appreciated. Before we start this evening, I will quickly give a brief history of Arab World Books for newcomers. My name is Amani, and in March 1998, I thought the internet would be a great opportunity to pay tribute to the writers who have enriched my life. I created this website, arabworldbooks.com, which is dedicated to enhance understanding between different cultures. We are proud that over the years, it has become a destination for researchers and centers of Arab studies around the globe. Our mission is to highlight the ideas, the books, and the women and men who create them. The core of this website has always been the authors' bios, their books, as well as their writing. In 2001, we launched two programs, the Writers' Workshop and the Book Club. Both have been running now for 21 years. In the Book Club, we feature the mixture of fiction and nonfiction, mainly recent books. Lately, as book clubs have become more prevalent in the Arab world, we have focused on international literary masterpieces like the works of Albert Camus and Gabriel Garcia Marquez. We have also introduced a series of conversations with Arab and international writers. Tonight is the 6th episode of this series. It is titled A Writing, a Vision, a Journey. These conversations aim to explore the motivation, process, and outcomes of a writer's journey, and hopefully shed some light on the values and experiences that are common to writers and readers across the world. Egyptian author Mohammed Tawfiq will host and moderate the discussion. Thank you all for participating, and I hope you have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amani, for that. It's a great pleasure for me to have this discussion with Nihad Sirees. Nihad Sirees was born in Aleppo in 1950. He studied engineering. He emerged as a fiction writer first in the 1980s. We call that the 80s generation in the Arab world. He's written novels, plays, scripts for TV drama. While many of his works feature contemporary social interactions, in his native Aleppo, he's considered to be one of the first writers in Syria to write historical novels. Among his notable works are the historical novel The North Winds and the popular TV series The Silk Market, which has been translated for screening in English, Persian, and German. He has also wrote a TV series about Lebanese-American writer Khalil Gibran. His novel, The Silence and the Roar, was banned in Syria, and it has been translated into German, French, and English. His second novel, States of Passion, translated by Max Weiss, was published by Pushkin Press in 2018. He left Syria in 2012, initially going to Egypt. He now lives in Berlin. So it's a great pleasure for me to have this conversation with you, Nihad Sirees. Let me start off by asking a question I ask of all the writers in this series. What motivates you to write? At what point in your life did you say, I'm a writer?
It is complicated, something I want to salute Mr. Fendrich Hartmut. He is big friend to me, and I am proud that he is with us today. And of course, Mrs. Willis and other people, I will know their name later. Now, what can I say about your question? It is, for me, it is very interesting from the beginning that I like to sit and listen to fairy tales, stories, something to listen like a grandmother. And one very far away related. But at that time, I found that listening to tales, stories, is very interesting. And the second step for me at that time was to sit and ask, or they will, we are together, so we'll sit and to tell them stories. This is the second step. And these stories at that time were invented by me. I didn't hear them from somewhere because at that time I didn't read yet so much, maybe a little bit, but of course this step also I recognized, or I was presented to Arabian Nights. Yeah, and this book was really very important in my way to literature. Sorry. So to invent, to tell people something you didn't listen to from somewhere else, this is very important for me. As I see now, I look to the past from this day. Even the dreams, my dreams at that time, I was dreaming in shape of stories, tales. That means even my dreams included drama or something like something not easy to get it, but to struggle to live as you like. So the next step was sit and write. That's it.
You're originally an engineer, and I too started off as an engineer. And many people say that it shows in my writing, the engineering background shows in my writing. How about you? How did your engineering background reflect in your writing? How did it influence your writing?
Yeah, I can say something in this topic. Engineering, it was useful for me in the making plans for stories or novels or something. What I mean the structural side of the stories or novels. And this is very important because I think that novels, they are like engineering structures, which the elements there, beams and columns and fundaments, but here we have people, flesh and blood and feelings and struggles, of course, odds and something like that. So I think, and I think that to be to use this engineering in writing was really very important, not only for me, but I think other writers who they are as professionals, they use their bureau to write.
I think you're right about, of course, the issue of structure is very important, and it makes sense that engineering should sort of influence a writer's approach to structure. So what about the ingredients of the writing itself, the substance itself? For example, there's great diversity in your work, but your native Aleppo plays a very prominent role. So where do your roots come in? Are there any biographical elements? Where does your writing come from? This energy, how do you channel the creative process?
Look, to live in in a big and important city like, for example, Cairo for Naguib Mahfouz, and Istanbul for Orhan Pamuk, and my life in a big and diverse city like Aleppo. This, I think, this will give you a kind of elements to build your words in stories and books. Aleppo, for example, it's not big quiet city. No, it was in the crossroad with in history. It has really a very important place in history. But we are talking about 20th century, which this is my beloved century. I don't go farthest from 20th century. Aleppo was really or was witnessing of many things which these things, like, for example, the Bedouins who live out of the city, but they came closer to the city, and they built their houses around the city, but from the eastern side, because they come or they came from the east. This very when I wanted to write about this because it was very important, especially these Bedouin, these tribes, they fight each other sometimes, and they harm the city, and they want to find works for or work for themselves, so they don't think about the rules or laws. For them, rules which they invent, which they have. They don't believe in other rules. So it is very important to write about this, for according to me, of course, and to tell people what happened. I wrote Al-Commedia Al-Fallahiyya, which is about this exactly, this theme, and the city always gives you something to write about. For example, the relationship between women, which is in Aleppo, it is very good known, and people, they know this, and even they like it, or they feel shame of it. Anyway, everyone knows this, and we call it بنات العشرة. بنات العشرة، بنات عشرة يعاشرون بعضا. So I wrote this book, حالة شغف, because also Aleppo is in very important crossroad, or near Europe, near Turkey, near East, near Iraq. And so it has a big role in First World War, and I wrote about this in رياح الشمال, which was my first book, and it took a long time until I finished it. So I finished now.
Thank you for that. Actually, mentioning حالة شغف, I think it was translated into entitled States of Passion. It's a novel I particularly enjoyed.
Thank you.
It reminds me of the great 19th century novels, which leads to the question, where do you draw your literary style from? Who are the writers you love? Who are the writers you read extensively? And how do you see style, and how does it interact with your substance?
Of course, me and many of writers of my age, they tried to read as much as they can from the translated literature. For example, at that time, we read a lot of French literature or English also. But the most important at that time to read the Russian literature. And for that, my at that time, my generation, or let's say me and other in this generation, were when they set to read, to write, I think that they were influenced by the style of these what we read, and we in Syria we had at that time in 80s, 70s, 80s we had good translations of Dostoevsky, Tolstoy, and the Ruski literature, which everyone knows, like, and even there are many books which not so famous, but we read it because it was like one kind of propaganda from Russia to our people.
Okay.
That's
when, I mean, talking about propaganda, when you were living in Syria, did you practice self-censorship? And now that you're in Germany, do you still do that? Are there topics that you feel uncomfortable writing about when you're living in Germany or talking about?
Look, Muhammad, I like to be brave, and even this like a challenge for me myself. So I didn't care about some rules or what does the censorship want from us. Maybe in political issues like our thought about the government, leading party, or something like that. And also, you can't write anything you in your mind. For example, for the religion or religious issues. This you can't do it. Even if you are brave, you can't do it. Yeah. Or very brave. Maybe for the at that time the government was happy that we are writing and attacking feudalism or something like that, or landlords, or yeah, like Saadallah Bannous, who the acclaimed theater
Playwright, yeah.
writer, who mentioned these rules, the three troika, which is religion, politics, and sex. That was for me at that time. I had rules for self-censorship, but I was brave in other things, like, for example, talking about what is silent about. For example, this Banat al-Ashri, Aleppo, going to the women general bath or something, which you witnessed this. You was there. You want to use them to write about it, and I wrote something like that. Even I was brave in writing the silence and roar. Yeah, I didn't care about what they, and I tried to publish it in Beirut, really, in Dar al-Adab, which is very good known. Yeah, so I tried to be, but in the matter of Allah, Muhammad, and other, I tried not to make like adventures in these things. Yeah,
It can be very dangerous.
very, yeah. And it is not so important.
Yeah.
For example, I can write here, and the German, I think they will say, okay, it's but it is not useful.
Yeah.
There are some writers here in Germany who wrote about these things, but I don't think it is.
What about self-censorship in Germany? Are the subjects that you feel that the public is very sensitive about, you wouldn't like to talk about, you wouldn't like to raise?
No, I don't. In Germany now, this is a little factor, a small factor, actually. But you have to make your inside you to be judged in what you are writing. Is it right or not? This is very important. Until now, I didn't listen to what could happen to me or to my relatives who still there in Aleppo. Once I made with Qanat Al Jazeera. They came from Venezuela. They came to Berlin, and we made we shoot around 1 hour program, and only something like I said that I blame this and that for what is happening in I blame them because they caused this. Next day, something very bad in our neighborhood and my house, and they came, they knocked the door, and and it caused really a big fear to my my people there. So I don't mind to write, but sometimes where these regimes, they don't read. So write something in English. Write something in far magazines or newspapers, far away from them. But At that time, Al Jazeera, it was bad decision to agree because problems there, Arabs and TV channels, and at that time, so it was a bad decision.
Mhm. Okay, now you've been living in Germany for a number of years. How does living abroad or living in exile, how does that influence your writing? How are you more, do you tend to compare between Western culture and Arab culture? Uh, does living in Germany give you a different perspective on Syrian society, on your own roots, on your own self?
Yeah, you are right. But to be in outside or outside my home or my city or my country, this wasn't the first time. I was away in 70s when I went to Bulgaria to study engineering, and it was at that time something I was supported by some leftists and Marxists, and I went. So I left. I lived there around 6 years, and I think these years opened my eyes. They opened my eyes to the other culture of other people, and to like this kind of culture, and to feel that you are lucky to be in touch with this, especially in theater. This is very important thing for any writer, to be in Europe and to be in touch with theater and opera or concert houses and other things. So I was really lucky to be outside, even in Sofia or Bulgaria, which is no one knows where is it, but I was there. And from Sofia, I could travel to anywhere in Europe. This is this I used this thing to do, and I think it is for I don't have the right to give lessons to Arab writers, of course, but I am let us talk about ourselves, myself. To be outside and to learn a new language and to have right to enter the public libraries and to read in other language as what you have, the Arabic, for example, in this example. This is very important. And I tried to use this language, but it is nice that it is very near to the Russian language. They are the Slaviansky family, yeah, the same like Serbsky and Bulgarsky, Ruski, and Macedonsky. They are very near, very like one family, and they are fine, of course. So I was lucky, I said. And the other thing is to live as very near to the central station, to take first train to travel. This was for someone who is 18-year-old or 19 or 20 even. This is very important. And I feel now how important is it. Yeah.
I don't want to go into the complexities of the Syrian situation, but how has the tragedy that has happened in Syria since 2011 influenced your outlook on war?
Yeah, this is a very important question. I from the beginning, I have like a stand against the war. You can touch it in the north winds, so reaction. And now I have the opportunity, a very rich opportunity, to live in Berlin. Berlin, which was really the hub of very important incidents in near time, Second World War. So I was going and visiting these places which they were demolished, and they returned or people build them again. At the same time, my Aleppo was in the process of demolishing. In the process at that time, it was around 2015, 15. So I studied what kind of architecture was, and what kind of architecture after rebuilding, and what can I expect to happen to Aleppo when they will rebuild it again. Because a lot of historic places, buildings were hit, and they are now rubbles. So this was very important for me, and I started to write about these buildings, architecture, the very important wave of architecture, like Bauhaus in Germany. And so I started to write about it, without to know that I will use them in the future in writing a novel, because it is very important for me, these things. Also in my mind, something which worries me really. Shall we continue to be the same after this demolishing war? Will be changed for how form or anything? Yeah. So this was also I studied this about the changes in European art at that time, First World War and Second World War. For example, we have many like Otto Dix here in Germany, like Dadaism in Europe, and so on, so on. So they used this horrible time, horrible scenes to rebuild their thoughts, their vision about the roles of art. Also, this I try to use it. This is for me. This is if I am not in Berlin or in Germany or in Europe in general, maybe I will not think even, just thinking to write such a novel.
Thank you very much for that. I mean, I'm sure you're giving the participants a lot of material for thought and discussion. Before opening up the discussion, let me just ask you a quick question. You have mentioned a few times the importance of interacting with the rest of the world. We're being open to international literature. How do you place Arab literature within the context of international literature? And how do you place yourself in the mainstream of Arab literature?
How I place myself, I will not tell you because it is not my job, I think, because I will be lying. But about Arab literature, it is really, I am very delighted to see that many Arab books and writers known now in Europe or America or Russia or even China, but not enough. You will see a book that was translated to Chinese, but this book will get lost in this, because it is not phenomenal. I mean that. Not like, for example, let's say will not go very far. Orhan Pamuk. Orhan Pamuk, I think he's like Najib Mahfouz from very important city in the history and now, and also Najib Mahfouz. But what I want to say that the Arabic literature, the modern Arabic literature, it has to struggle more and to fight more to present itself to the world. Not enough. Other nations are better than us.
Thank you very much. I think that's a very good starting point for the discussion. So I think we can open the floor for comments or questions.
Okay.
May I say something?
Yes, please.
I'm very happy to see you again, Nihad.
I am really happy.
A long time, and I'm actually greeting you from Paris. I'm just in Paris now to spend the month of September.
Oh.
But let's go back to your work. And I was wondering about the plans of novels. That's a thing that's been haunting me all my time. that I kept myself busy with Arabic literature. I think there are two extremes actually, positions of authors. Some say they have a plan from the beginning that they follow to the very end, and they already know in the beginning how the outcome of the action will be, what the outcome of the action will be. And there are others who say, well, I have a number of figures that I let free, and they will lead me, the author, the way to the end they want to have it. I'd like, to really get to this point again. Where would you place yourself? You were telling about the idea of engineering. I know some authors who are engineers or natural scientists in the Arab world who would say they have no plans in the beginning, but they let themselves be led by their figures. Now, how would you see this actually? Or, could you maybe make it a little bit more precise than before?
You can't touch, or nobody will touch this to say that this is from engineering, this is from medicine, or this is from other banking jobs or something. No, maybe banking, yes, because some writers but we are talking about engineering. Engineering is to know how to build a great structure or good structure, not to fail afterwards and finished. No, to live for centuries. This will train you inside without to know even how to do that in every kind of life you have. For example, writing. In writing, without to know, you are making the structure inside. Do you know this word? I think Muhammad, he knows it. Descriptive geometry is how to imagine the spaces of the place. Mm. It is very interesting. Now, the writer will come to use this opportunity to use it in writing or in writing, designing, and then writing a novel or story. This is, I can only tell you that I can't feel it, but it exists. Mm-hmm. Like also, I think doctors, like for example, he was a medicine doctor, and he, in his writings, he, without to know, he used this way of how to make science helpful. Yes. I hope I could.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, I have so many questions that I could ask. If no one else wants to ask a question, I mean, I don't want to interfere and I would impose myself. But there's a question, for instance, with the influence of foreign literatures on Arabic literature. I mean, to what extent is Syrian literature different from, say, Moroccan literature written in Arabic, through the fact that there is a historical coincidence that Syria had better relationships to Russia and therefore was more strongly influenced by Russian literature. I mean, it's an influence that goes far back to the beginning of the 20th century, with Mikhail Neumann talking about Russian literature. But then on the other hand, you know, the Moroccans were much more influenced by the French. So would you see, as a reader of Arabic literature, would you see a difference within these literatures that could be brought back to this different influence, these different influences?
Of course you can't, huh? You say that, but you know that you can't live in an island alone in the middle of the ocean. We are connected to each other. So we read. When I am tired from working, I go and lay down and read. What I read? I don't read only my books. Maybe I don't read at all after I finish, but I read other experiences. So the contact between creatives, between writers, between this make this impression about what is Syrian or what is Moroccan. I will say something else. The Moroccan they used very well the French culture in their works and in their word, and very good. But in Syria, something else happened. In 40s, at that time, late 30s and 40s of last century, at that time, many movements, political, social, or cultural, they were against the French in any meaning, every meaning, even in culture. Even we had a minister of education to educate children, and he decided that the French language is the language of our enemy and the colonialists, and he stopped it. And this continued for 6-7 months until the government changed, came another one, and returned everything how it was. So it is really not easy.
You see what I actually mean is, would you see a difference between the two? Not, I mean, of course one knows Moroccan literature talks about Moroccan problems, Syrian literature talks about Syrian problems, but as Arabic literature, meaning written in Arabic, they may go back, if they know, to the same Jahiz and to the same Al-Ma'arri, and now they write influenced by literatures from the outside. They write modern Arabic, contemporary Arabic literature. And does there, for you as a reader of Arabic literature, show an interest and a difference? Pardon, and difference. Does there show a visible difference going back to these different influences, not the things they describe, because they may be Moroccan or Syrian, but the way in which things are described?
Some, in short, if I may say, I think that that Syrians, they wanted, of course, to build their culture and their beautiful world of words, but they the governments which were controlled by army officers, they stopped everything. They stopped, and we went in another way of developing, which is, I'm sure, we stopped. The second thing, which you wanted to say, we had bad self-confidence. In Arabic, we say, الفرنجي برنجي. الفرنجي برنجي, that means Frenji, that means France and the Europe. Brinji in Turkish, that means
Brinji, the first one.
Brinji, that means very good.
The first one, yeah. Okay, Brinji.
Yeah, Brinji. Something. We have this problem.
Okay, we'll leave it at that.
Okay, I think we can hear from Asmahan.
Yes, I would ask you the two questions. The first one, you said that you are studying the Aleppo architecture. How will you do that after destroying the most important architecture sites and the documents were stolen and sold in the markets? The second question is, what is your vision about the Syrian literature nowadays, comparing with others like Egyptian, Tunisian, Algeria, Morocco, Sudanese? Thanks a lot.
Yeah, thank you. I will start with the second question, which is, I want to say very beautiful things about other Arab cultures, like, as we know, for me at least, that Egyptian culture was the first place for us to recognize and to know. In every side of life, of cultural life, like in poetry, in novel, and in Arab country, to come someone to say, leave everything, the old kind of creativity, but let's start this new art, novels. And you know about whom I am talking. This was for the cultural world, the Arabic cultural world, something unbelievable, very important. And Nobel Prize, when it comes to looking for someone, for them it was really very clear. They will not give, and this was very. I was so happy when in 80s when this happened. they gave a Nobel Prize to a novelist, not a poet. I I respect, of course, poets or poetry and this, but I am talking about something. If they say to someone poet, that means you are this place from thousands of years. Stay there, please. But novel is something else. Ideas, philosophy, discussions, dialogue, imagination, everything. So this was the other question. What was it?
About architecture, the destruction of the architectural.
I was living in Aleppo. We know this. Every day we see, and so and of course the governments many for long years they were taking care of these buildings and to fabricating them and doing everything to let them stay still, to stay in good. Yeah.
But if you live there, but that's the sites and the shape of places and describe it and many things, you lost it. How do you study it? And I know you live in Aleppo and you know many sites, but they are destroyed. Many of them are destroyed now, and the documents and the manuscripts are stolen and sold, and you don't know many things about it. And you will get help from the books or the description of these sites and the people who still live in Aleppo and can describe the shape of building or what's like this.
This is the وظيفة novelist, to imagine something he didn't see, but he can, from the information he collected, he can build something similar. It was very big shock for every day I lived in 2012 and 13, 14 until 15. What was happening? What was happening in Aleppo? Especially these buildings. Of course, in the first place, the people themselves, how they could survive. But at that time, I wanted to, in this book, to talk about not for example, one street, very important street in Berlin, how was it and what happened to it. Also, I will talk about Aleppo, what happened to the Umayyad mosque in Aleppo, which was the minaret was destroyed, or the citadel itself, or the souk market, which is this. I lived there. I wrote a lot about it. I made Silk Market, my TV show, which took 50 episodes. around 15 episodes. So I wrote in some way how I was walking in these streets and seeing these destroyed buildings. That's it.
Your work is great, but it is not scientific. It is similar to stories or literature or novels like this. It's not scientific book.
No. Why scientific? But you have the writer must be really honest scientifically to write or to to make like image, to draw an image, to be true. This, but he can any writer. I think it is وظيفة الكاتب. It is what he has to do as a writer.
Thank you. We have Omneya and then Ahmad. So Omneya, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for this very nice night. Thank you, Dr. Amani. Thank you, Ambassador. Hi, Nihad, and I'm so sorry for everyone because my picture is not ready yet, but I'm in the mood of changing my digital platforms, so I'm so sorry. Very nice to hear about your work, Nihad, and I'm always fascinated by intellectual people having more than one discipline in their life, because these people are figures that are triggered by destiny. Your journey to Bulgaria, and then from there to Berlin, and you are from the Aleppo, a very, very dear city to my heart, where I went there when I was 8 years old, and I didn't forget it. For the warmth, for the very nice people who like Egyptians so much. You can never forget this country or this city. Let me say about a remark from the picture I can see on the screen, that you have a very, very, very nice door behind you. And
really?
Really. And let me tell you a remark about this door. Because in Egypt, when you try to make innovation and you want to make a door with a finesse, very big finesse like this, with a glass, all carpenters refuse. But fortunately enough, yesterday, I went to Kabnouri, which is an Egyptian company, making a franchise with Germany, and I found this door yesterday there. So I think it's a symbol, it's a very important symbol that Germans have the tendency to be open. They don't need so much wood, and they allow sort of wide range of transparency between countries. I believe this
That's
about
true.
Germany. And this was mentioned too in the novel of Garcia Marquez, الحب في زمن الكوليرا. The German helps a lot in the change of the destiny of Latin America through introducing technologies of telegrams. Germans are always there in the picture of changes and renovation, but they are not on the surface. They are playing a role in changing destiny a lot in our countries and in all the countries when there is a change. So I'm so much interested in your journey. And I just want to ask a last question. In which part of Berlin you are living? The east part or the west part? Thank you very much.
Thank you. It is interesting, really. Look, where I live in Spandau district. Spandau, which is we have Old City, they call it Old City, and a New City. The Old City, you can go there and to have a lot of trottoir cafes and restaurants and other things. And a lot of green areas. Now, this was in the West, where the English, the British at that time, they Spandau, it was one of their duty in the after the Second World War. That's it, and I like this city, this area. It is not separate city of Berlin. No, it is like a neighborhood, like a district of Berlin. And but which is, I don't know if it is I am lucky of it or not. Young people, they don't like it. They don't like Spandau. Only old people, maybe, like me. And also, you can meet a lot of, I can't say foreigners, but they are from outside their like Turks, like Russians, like now Syrians. A lot of Syrians in this area, and now the Syrians, they have jobs, markets, and everything they build. And so when I came first time to occupy this this apartment, it was in 2013, and 2013, no one at that time of these which I mentioned before, especially shops, or all either Turks or Russians, or of course German. Of course, they are the majority, and that's it. I am happy.
Right. This is very important thing, to be happy at this age.
I am
to
happy
make
because,
very nice work.
because I am, let's say, around 150 meters from the river, and a lot of gardens. This is very. It reminds me of course, Switzerland, where Hartmut lives there, and I visited him, and until now I remember what he cooked and made very interesting things. We were very happy. So thank you all. Thank you, Hartmut and Dr. Amani. You are wonderful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very
And
much. We still
Muhammad.
have, well, thank you. But
You still have?
we still have Ahmad, who has something to say.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Ahmad Balalo, and I'm from Syria, Aleppo. I want to thank Muntada Al-Kitab Al-Arabi and the internet to give me this opportunity to talk with Mr. Nihad Sirees because he's one of my best writers, my favorite writers. I want to ask Mr. Nihad if we in the school, like we know, we always read about commitment literature. And I always read about topics like Palestinians issues and Arabic nationalism issue. And no one in the generations before us, the writers' generation before us, write about characters that belong to us, like Mr. Nihad do. So he opened our eyes to a new world that we don't know. Like when we write his works, you see characters that maybe you can relate to in my city Aleppo. But I think today, after what happening in Syria and Syrian war, we come back to the other, yeah, like we should now read about the same topics as our previous generation. We should write about the Syrian conflict, about the wars, what the wars do in our people, the people in exile. So my question here is, do you think that we should jump after this step, or we should rethink it again and write more novels about it? Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. You mean about the war?
Yes.
Oh. I think let me take an example from German culture, like the painters who they wanted to go to the war and to carry weapons and to fight, and maybe they will be killed, but they want to build experience. Why this? What the so important the experience at this moment? It is very important, and they return back to build a new madaris fanniya or like a new waves in art and in culture and even in architecture. I told you about Bauhaus movement in architecture, which the Nazis, they fought against it and they forbidden it. So it stopped at that time. But nothing will be stopped. It will be continued, but in other way. So I think that what we need for Aleppo in Syria, or in Mosul, or in other places, what we need really is how to make ourselves like to shield ourselves and to make ourselves like to do something new. New. It is the most beautiful word or four letters in the whole languages. A new thing, a new thought, a new way, a new wave, a new everything new is very important. For Syria, what we need is new, a new thinking, a new way of writing, a new how we eat, how we drink, how we look at the world. This is very important. Without there is also مثل in our city. I will say it in English. Who doesn't have old, he will never have new. اللي ماله قديم ماله جديد. This is the مثل. I want to keep what I know, what I knew about my city, to rebuild it, but to rebuild it not to make it like to take this stone and then it where it was there, up, down. No, something. It needs new thing, new thinking, a new art, new architecture. So this is what I hope.
Thank you for that. We still have a couple of minutes so we can listen to Nahla. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Good evening to everyone. And Mr. Nihad, I hope you forgive my ignorance because I haven't read any of your work, but I hope to correct that in the near future. My question to you is regarding the subject of exile, which is something that has always intrigued and fascinated me. And I was wondering if you see like a difference between talking or writing about the subject earlier in the work of someone like Edward Said or Mourid Barghouti in I Saw Ramallah, and the current situation where exile has become a fact of life for many, many Arabs due to wars and different circumstances. And if you can also talk about exile while actually living in your homeland. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, Nahla, I will tell you that I am a refugee. I am not shy of it. I lived in the first months, even writers, and I have books and TV programs and this and that. But I lived among people from Iraq, from Afghanistan, from Kurdistan, from everywhere. I am a refugee. Of course, I will continue being a refugee for time. Even I try to be useful in something, but I can't say no or to forget me and others also who were there. And I think one of your Muhammad, one of your questions you sent me that about environment, and make immigration. I would like to thank you about this question. Environment, maybe we are not activists, but we are activists with our way. And what comes to immigration, we are immigrants. And we try to make integration easy to people. Make it easy. And Syrians, they do really very good job, very good job. These young people, they are really very good. So everywhere you go now, you can see. Today I was, because I have something I have in my throat. I went to pharmacy and there was a Syrian there in the pharmacy. We talked what I need. He gave me good advices and salam. So, after 3-4 shops, grocery, Syrian grocery, and so on. So now people they are the people of Berlin or Germany. They used to Syrians, and the most thing I really like that, which I was afraid from the beginning, about criminals to come together, infiltration with the people, the real people in need. But we nothing of that. This is very good. We are happy that that nothing of that. Maybe they knew about some people, they could at once take them away, but for now it is nice, it is good. We are really thankful for this country, and we all love it for long time. And thank you for this opportunity now to be with you, to talk with you, and you pushed me to say something I was forgetting, but now I am fine.
Thank you very much, Nihad, and thank you
Shukran,
all.
Muhammad.
This has been a very informative and interesting discussion. Thank you for your openness, and thank you all for participating in this conversation.
I really I was happy from the beginning, and shukran Amani, Dr. Amani, and I hope I will continue looking always to your side, to your activities, and so on.